Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and I'll be your guide on this journey from consciousness to cluelessness and back around again. Thanks for joining me for another Sunday solo episode. Whether it's Sunday night and you're getting ready for your week, Monday morning and you're on your way to work, or whatever day this podcast has found you, I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness, or is it preventing you from achieving your goals? By now, you all know that therapy is an important part of my self-care. It has truly been a game changer in every aspect of my life. BetterHelp is the largest online counseling platform worldwide. They are changing the way people get help with facing life's challenges by providing convenient, discreet, and affordable access to a licensed therapist. BetterHelp makes professional counseling available anytime, anywhere, through a computer, tablet, or smartphone. You can start communicating within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. And I have a special offer for you. Visit betterhelp.com/Carly and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. By using this code, you get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Carly. Take care of yourself today. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. All right, so today we are talking about what we wanted to be when we were kids. Like, when you said, when I grow up, I want to be, what was it? I want you to think for a second about what that was or what they were. Like, if you were like me, you had about 1 billion different options. But what are some of the ones that stick out for you that you wanted to be? So, some examples on my list growing up. At one point, I wanted to be a mermaid. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a vet at one point, but then we had to put one of our dogs to sleep, I believe, and I found out that it is the vet's job to put people's pets to sleep, and it was a no-go for this sensitive Pisces. Let's see. I think those were some of the big ones. I remember mermaid, vet. Oh, of course. How can I forget? I wanted to be a singer and or actress and a soccer player. Yep, a famous soccer player. Wanted to play women's soccer. So it really ran the gamut. And this stemmed from, I found this story when I was going through all my stuff, downsizing to get into the bus. I found some old things I had written from late elementary school, maybe early middle school, somewhere around there. So what is that? Like 11, 12, something in there. And this story that I wrote for English was hilarious. I'm thinking about posting it online because I just love it so much. So I envisioned my future. We had to do this writing assignment where you envision the future. It's, so many years in the future. What are you doing? So I really went for it. I started off as a famous soccer player who broke many records. I then got injured. Not sure why I did that to myself. But then because of the injury, I had to step away from soccer and become an actress and a writer, I believe. Oh yeah, I've always wanted to write books. And then I had a movie made about my life, and I suddenly in the story had a daughter named Melissa Puck, which is my last name. It made me laugh because there was no mention of any sort of husband or partner or wife or anybody, and it was a child with my last name. For some reason that just makes me laugh. So I had a very full life. Oh, and then my daughter became the first female president of the United States, which is pretty cool. I don't plan on having kids as of right now, but if I did, it'd be really cool to have your daughter be in the White House, although I hope it doesn't take that long to get a woman in the White House as president. Anyway, I really wanted to be a lot of different things. But when I think about those things, of course, some of them don't relate. Like, I'm not a famous soccer player. I do enjoy sports. I love watching soccer still, but that's not, in the realm. I'm not an actress. My parents might call me dramatic, but I am not a paid actress. I do think of myself as a writer, so I'll check that box. And I was thinking about some of the other ones, like a veterinarian. Animal love is still alive and well in my heart. I always have loved animals, so it's funny how that kind of translated. I mean, I did become a damn vegan, so I do love animals. That was something that was clear from the get-go. And let's see, what were some of the other ones? A mermaid, I'm not anywhere near a mermaid other than the fact that I'm a water sign, so I think that has to play a part there. And a teacher, I mean, I love coaching and sharing and learning and interviewing people so I can learn and then teach you all. I mean, that feels like, although it's not the traditional sense, I am very much enjoy being in like that kind of teaching, helping role. And then astronaut, I mean, I love space. I love the stars. I love astrology. So some of these feel like they were these deep-rooted interests in me that hung on all this time and just kind of showed up in different ways. Love of animals, wanted to be a vet tech at one point. Love of space, wanted to be an astronaut at one point. Still want to or define myself as a writer. I am a writer. I want to publish a book someday. That's on the list. So like half check that one. Teacher, we just went through that. So it's just funny to me that, I mean, it's so corny to talk about like when I was little, I wanted to be this. Did they all directly translate? Not even a little bit. But I did kind of enjoy the process of thinking back to what I imagined at that young age, what I would be doing, or some of the things that I really cared about and were passionate about and thought that I would be passionate about them forever. Some of those things have held up. I was in Florida on vacation when I was in middle school, I believe, or late elementary, kind of around that same time, I guess. And I was visiting my grandparents and we went out into, I don't know, a fishing boat or I don't remember, but somehow we were on the water and we saw manatees, and I had never seen manatees, of course. I'm from Minnesota. I was so in love with them. They're just big sea cows. And then I noticed the marks on their back, and I remember somebody telling me about how it's because boats don't slow down and they get hit by propellers in the no-wake zones, and I was furious. I was flabbergasted. I could not believe it. So I made t-shirts that said "Save the Manatees" because I wanted people to slow down. It's funny when you think about it as a kid, when you kind of don't think everything through, like me wearing my Save the Manatees shirt in Minnesota maybe wasn't as effective as someone in Florida wearing it, but that's okay. I was passionate about it, and I still am. Like, I still am passionate about those things. So I'm kind of trying to dig back into some of those things and connect back to little Carly who wanted to save the world and see how it's translated. And, I'm not trying to sound like a therapist telling you to like dig into your inner child or whatever. Unless you want to do that, that sounds amazing if you're ready for that work. But I think there is something to be said about taking some time to think about what were the things you wanted when you were younger, and have you given them to yourself? Have you given yourself some of the things you wanted to do in life? Or maybe you don't become an astronaut, but maybe you buy yourself a telescope because you really always have loved space, but you never really pursued it. I want you to think about what is in your life like that you can tap back into that you can give yourself some of that kind of joy. I think it's such pure joy when you think about the things you wanted to do when you were a kid. Oftentimes there's just like so much joy behind it because you only think of the good parts. You know, when I wanted to be a vet, I didn't think about the sad parts. I just thought about like spending my day with animals. So think about that, and I want to hear what comes up for you. You know I love to hear from you, so tell me, what did you want to be when you were a kid? And what does that look like now? How has that changed or transpired? And what do you need to give yourself a little bit more time in? What do you need to bring back into your life? Tell me everything. Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. If you want to help me get this into the ears of more listeners, send it to a friend, text it to a family member, share on social media. Whatever you can do really helps me out. If you want a shout out on this very podcast, head over to Apple Podcasts, leave Consciously Clueless a review, and you might hear your review as the review of the week in the future. And you definitely should head over to patreon.com/consciouslycarly and check out the different membership levels, the community there, all the things that you can get by joining the community and supporting this podcast and this work. Until next time.